Well guys, here's what you asked for. I bring you the Strong Wind. I've named it this because it's fairly simple to build and easy to farm for, while also being decently strong with a lot of utilities. I've been building variations of this design for a while now, but about a month ago I made a video using this base, and I promised if it got enough likes, I'd do a tutorial on it. I can't take all of the credit for this though. I switched a couple of foundations up and pretty much changed the entire interior core, but I've got to give credit where credit is due. The multi-TC footprint is created by a player known as Dill. I'll leave his channel in the description. Before we get into the tour, I want to put a little disclaimer out there. I'm in no way suggesting that this is some godly design. The cheapest way into TC and main loot, if rated perfectly, is only 27 rockets, excluding outer TCs. I'm just doing this tutorial because it was highly requested, and it's also one of my personal favorite bases to build. So without further ado, let's get started. On either side of the base, I built these simple custom gates. They're as expensive to raid as the compound walls, so it's worth making these over a typical external gate. Faster entry and exits, as well as more visibility. To the left, we have an auto turret covering 4 large furnaces. Then we have our first outer TC. Here's what your upkeep will be looking like. On the right, we have a similar setup, but with only 2 large furnaces. How many furnaces you can fit completely depends on how you place your walls, or if you want to make a bigger compound. This is just how I built it. I have my auto turrets placed like this so that they can cover as much ground as possible. If you place them against the base or against the outer TC, it won't be able to cover as many furnaces, as cheeky nakeds could use the furnaces as cover while looting them. Heading inside, we're met with the inner Peakdown honeycomb. Right off the bat, you'll notice that you can fit an oil refinery in here. Every corner in this section of the base is filled with 4 drop boxes. Above each of these drop box rooms are H-June style emergency bedrooms. You can use these to catch raiders off guard and flank them mid-raid. Now, let's explore the core. If you're worried about getting door raided, don't be. As long as you have garage doors, the cost to raid this base through doors is pretty much the same as simply going through the correct wall. Armored doors definitely add a little bit to the cost, but they aren't required. On the second floor, we have 7 large boxes and 2 vending machines for storage. You can also choose to have a repair bench or another large box. In this case, I chose to have a repair bench. Down in the main 2x1 is where our main TC and main loot is. As you can see, there's 3 sleeping bags here. This space is ideal for 2 to 3 people, but it can squeeze in a 4th. Any more than that, however, may get a little bit cramped. Moving to the 3rd floor, we have the Peakdown floor. Usually inner Peakdowns are on the 4th floor, but the point of this base is efficiency, so the 3rd floor works just fine. You can also fit 2 bedrooms in the main area. In an online raid situation, you can also work with teammates to create an airlock if the situation calls for it. Moving to the inner peaks, we have not only 360-degree cover from auto turrets, but we also reutilize those corner squares for various things. I highly recommend using one for an electricity room, but the others can be drop boxes, bedrooms, or extra furnaces. There's a reason why the inner Peakdown floor is sheet metal on the outside, while the walls below it are stone. If you leave them stone, raiders would rather go through that instead of spending the extra 4 rockets to get your peaks. But that's exactly what you want them to do. That way you can keep your inner Peakdowns secure to defend from. If they want to limit your defendability, they're gonna have to spend the extra rockets. Moving on to the 4th floor, we have an optional loot room and a research room. Past this, we have a safety ring to use as cover when taking heli, or even when being raided. Past this ring, we arrive at the outer peaks. My favorite part about this shooting gallery is these cheeky splits in the walls. If you're sitting here with an M249 during a raid, it's extremely hard for raiders to fight back. We also have optional locker respawns for emergencies. Moving to the 5th and final floor, we are met with our roof. It includes a minicopter hangar, which can house 2 minicopters at a time, as well as 2 drone-only vending machines. On the outside, we have some simple angled roofs with 360-degree auto turret cover. Then of course, to power all 8 turrets, we have a wind turbine on our roof. And that's it. That's the tour. Now let's get into the build. Before slapping down your foundations, quickly look left and right. Make sure there's enough room on either side to expand out about 8 squares. Then go ahead and build your traditional 2x1 with a triangle airlock. Make sure the front door swings inwards and the airlock door swings outwards. Take your tool cupboard and find the wall that is lined up with your doorway. Place the TC parallel to that wall as far in the corner as you can. Make sure you place it in this exact position, otherwise you will lose out on maneuverability. Place your first large box as close to the back wall as you can. Then place your second large box against the tool cupboard. Place 2 sleeping bags in the middle of the square. Make sure to not overlap on the second square foundation. You can also put a third bag in your airlock. Place your workbench against the wall next to your doorway and 3 furnaces to the left of the workbench. You should then be able to squeeze a large box right in this gap. If you can't, it may be because you placed one of the first 2 boxes wrong. Next, head outside. Place a foundation, a half-height wall, and a roof. Break the half wall, then go back inside and place a triangle floor to form a shelf. Place 2 more boxes as flush as you can. You can also place a campfire in this space. And there's my ideal 2x1. What I love about this space is that it comes in multiple stages. If your wipe goes bad, you can stop right here without having to worry about leaving behind something you put a lot of work into. Now let's start work on the early expansion. Begin by placing 2 triangle foundations right outside your airlock. Create a jump up in this corner, but unlike I did, leave the floor twig for now. I'll explain why later. Go up and over, and mirror what I did on the other side. Build honeycomb on either side of the 2x1. Build walls around the entire second floor. Sometimes this one above the jump up can be tricky. If you can't place it, try looking straight down and then place. Fill in the roofs as shown, leaving 1 empty space for roof access. Assuming you have a tier 2 by now, I'm going to begin work on cherrying up this starter base. Start by heading downstairs, pick up your tier 1 and replace it with a tier 2. Place door frames everywhere I am doing so. Add a single door to the front and a double door on the roof. Finish the Dropbox rooms by adding half floors. Sheet metal the back triangle, as you won't be able to once when you add the window frames in a second. These rooms can hold a total of 8 boxes, but I like to give one up for a repair bench. Fill in the single doorways on either side with vending machines. Not only do they add extra storage, but they also cost 10 rockets to break. Better than the sheet metal wall you would have had there anyways. For now, add 2 sheet metal double doors to protect your Dropbox room and jump up. Head into the core and finalize your main loot room. You have to pick up a furnace and these 2 large boxes. Upgrade the door frame to metal, not stone. Otherwise, you won't be able to replace the large boxes. Place a garage door, then replace everything you picked up exactly where it was before. The garage door should cover everything perfectly. Add garage doors to the rest of the door frames throughout the base. You can also replace this double door with a garage door when you can afford it. Add window frames to both of the Dropbox rooms. If you haven't already, sheet metal the entire core. Now going back to that jump up you hopefully left as twig. I recommend breaking it and placing furnaces there instead. It functions the same, but now you have an extra place to smelt ores. The furnaces in the core will be going away later, so if you want, you can do the same on the other side. And that just about wraps up the starter base. This should get you by until you want to start expanding again. As soon as you have enough resources, build your outer TCs. Place 3 triangles off the honeycomb, then build out 8 squares. Add 1 triangle foundation to the end. Destroy all of the twig except the triangle you just placed. Come back with 4 half moons, a square, and a triangle. Build 2 triangles and a square off of each side. Then remove the middle triangle. 4 triangles out from your half moons, you'll place your first outer TC. Sheet metal the back walls, foundation, and ceiling. Place a stone window frame and secure it with a strengthened glass window. If you somehow don't have glass window yet, secure it with a garage door or even a sheet metal double door. Destroy all of the twig behind the tool cupboard and upgrade all of the twig in front of it. Add door frames along the edges of all the foundations to connect them to upkeep. Do the exact same thing on the other side. Finishing off the foundation layout is really simple. Just place 1 square foundation and 2 triangles off the jump up honeycomb. Do the same thing on the other side. Now that the foundations are completely set up, it's time to work on the inner Peakdowns. Start by going around all of the foundations with 2 stories of stone walls. Place 2 double doors on each side. Make your way up to the roof and place ceilings exactly like I am. When you're done, the west and east sides of the base should have small gaps, while the north and south sides of the base should have acute triangle gaps. Be careful with these, as it's quite easy to fall through them. This is easily solvable with siren lights, as I'll show in the finishing touches. Just like down below, fill in the entire edge with walls. Find the core oval and fill it in with walls and double door frames on each side. Fill in the ceilings as shown. Place door frames in every available spot. These corners will be your bedrooms. I suggest placing the door first, bed second, and drop boxes third. On either side, place a simple airlock to your inner Peakdowns. This is especially helpful if raiders have control of them. Head up to the roof and fill in what's missing. Copy the layouts below, except for the acute triangle peak downs. Fill those in like you did the foundations at the bottom to seal it completely. You'll notice that these gaps are pretty revealing, but those will be fixed in the finishing touches. Moving up from the inner peaks is our shooting floor and outer peak downs. Locate the north side and build 3 triangles off the square, and 2 more triangles like this. Make sure there's a small gap between them. Repeat the same thing on the south side. On the west and east sides, fill in the triangles with ceilings and place a square with triangles branching off of them. Find the oval again and repeat as done below. These triangles up here can be whatever you want them to be, but I chose extra drop boxes and a research table. Now let's start surrounding our outer peaks with the shooting gallery. Start by placing single door frames at every acute triangle. Make sure that you place these in a way so that when you place the single doors, they will swing outwards. Stability might give you some trouble here, and if it does, try placing things in a different order. When making the safety ring, make sure that all of the walls are placed on the outer side of the gap. In other words, you should be able to see the gap into the base from the inside, not the outside. To fix these big gaps, place stone door frames on each side. Now, fill in all of the frames as shown. Quick note, while these doors are open, they stop you from falling through. Only when you close them, or if there is no door there at all, can you fall through. Use vertical embrasures to fill in the window frames. I don't recommend using horizontal or even window bars. Vertical is just the best for visibility. Head up and fill in the ceilings. Make sure that you place all of the safety ring ceilings as close to the core as you can. None should be touching the outer ring, and the gap should be consistent all the way around. The rest of the ceilings are pretty easy. Just follow how it looks below. Time to build the final and simplest floor, the roof. Build around the center oval as follows. Place garage doors in the double door frames and vending machines in the single door frames. Then place glass windows in all of the window frames. Before you can place the slanted roofs, you have to go down into the east and west sides of the shooting gallery and place these 3 walls. Once when you've done this, head back and start placing roofs. When you get to the corners with squares, make sure you place triangle ceilings on the inner side of the gap. And just like that, the roof is pretty much done. In this next stage, I'll be focusing on the compound. It's ordered in this video as one of the last things, however, it can be made at any time after the outer TCs are placed and finalized. I suggest making the compound as early on as you can, so you can smelt the metal you'll need for the base. Start by heading to the west side of the base to make the first compound gate. 2 door frames with windows surrounding them does the job just fine, especially if you have the double doors swinging inwards to form an airlock. Do the same thing on the other side. After finishing the gates, head to one of the outer TCs to place a metal barricade. Build temporary twig floors to make the placement perfect. Destroy them afterwards. Place 2 more barricades on each compound gate using this same method. Now for the walls. It's really up to you how you place these, but I like to build tight compounds to save on resources. Place the first wall slightly cockeyed towards the gate. Then head to the gate and place 2 walls straight out. Sometimes it'll be perfect, other times it won't be. Once when you finish the walls, go ahead and slap down a few large furnaces and get those bad boys smelting. The basic layout of this base is done, but there's a lot of imperfections and utilities in this base that, if left unchecked, make it much weaker. To start, build airlocks on both sides of the base. A simple single door with windows on each side works fine. After this, head into the inner ring and place an oil refinery. This can and should be placed much earlier. Place drop boxes in each one of these corner squares. These ramp shelves I'm doing are optional. Basically what it does is make it hard for raiders to squeeze into the base mid-raid. But in my opinion, it just isn't worth the extra resources in this particular build. Repeat these Dropbox rooms in every corner. Go above each Dropbox room and build the emergency respawn rooms. A bed with a large box or a locker works just fine. If you only have 2 members, you can either just do 2 rooms, or you can give 2 rooms to each person. With these done, it's time to make one of the most important adjustments in the base, and that's sealing up these gaps. From foundation to ceiling, place stone door frames where each gap is present. This will significantly lessen it. Head upstairs to your inner peaks. You need to seal these gaps as well. Placing a frame on the square and a frame next to it will do the job. These corner squares are also very powerful places to hide loot. They're far from the core and spread out to avoid splash, but I still don't recommend putting your main loot in here. What I do recommend is turning at least one of these squares into your electricity room, which I'll get to later. For now, I'm going to do some base upgrades. Feel free to upgrade the walls I'm showing you as soon as possible, rather than towards the end. To start, head back down into the 2x1 core and upgrade it all to armored. Pick up all the furnaces and the tier 2. Replace the furnaces with a tier 3, and place an extra bag if needed where the tier 2 was. Pick up the sheet metal doors and replace them with armored ones. Armor this entire side of the base. Place an armored door before this jump up. Sheet metal everything you see on the second floor, except for the double door frames. Sheet metal this entire jump up and add an armored door to the front entrance. Go around the entire ring and sheet metal anything in the core that is still stone. Head up to the 3rd floor and sheet metal these walls, and replace this sheet metal door with an armored one. Sheet metal any stone floors. Head into the inner Peakdowns and upgrade everything. The walls, the floors, and the ceilings. This is a vital part of this base and could be critical to the defense. You need to do your best to protect it. I also recommend adding siren lights to the acute triangle gaps. In the outer Peakdowns, I recommend sheet metaling all of the stone floors to prevent them from collapsing to splash damage. You can also sheet metal all of the roof ceilings to stop top-down raiders from quickly getting your outer peaks. Finally, we've reached the final stage of this build, electricity. I'm not going to show you where to place every single wire. This will vary if you decide to place the electricity room in a different corner than I did, or if you decide to place turrets somewhere else. But what I will show you is where to ideally place turrets. First, you're going to need a wind turbine. You can build one right above your minicopter hangar. Make sure it's at least 2 floors higher to ensure you get enough power. Head to your electricity room and place a smart switch as well as 8 electrical branches. I like using the smart switch instead of a normal switch because the smart switch requires building authorization to interact with. This forces raiders to use explosives to disable your turrets, if they get to this room. Place turret 1 and 2 in the Peakdowns. Place turret 3 and 4 on the roof, guarding the vending machines and also potential top-down raiders. Place turret 5 and 6 in the inner ring. And lastly, place turrets 7 and 8 in the compound to defend your furnaces. All of these turrets should easily be within range of the electrical branches to wire up, except for one. You'll need to replace the 8th branch somewhere closer to it. I chose one of the 2nd floor loot rooms. Wire the 7th branch to this 8th branch, and wire the 8th branch to the farthest turret. And just like that, the base is finished. I hope you guys learned something new, and I can't wait for you guys to offline raid me perfectly when you find this base in the world of Rust. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Peace out.